Panos, Prevedorous.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, Council members. My name is Panos Prevedorous. I'm a professor of civil engineering, and today I'm speaking here on behalf of the HHUA, the Hawaii Highway Users Alliance. It is a fact that Honolulu is the most lane-deficient metropolitan area in the United States. There is no substitute for road capacity. One cannot express buses and railroads, but without key road widening projects, some underpasses, intelligent transportation system applications, and a Leeward Oahu to Town expressway, there will be no reduction in congestion and no growth in the EVA plains as planned. There are several myths about roadways that particularly are promulgated by the Mayor Hanneman administration. Roads put more cars on the road. No, new roads reduce traffic congestion. The H3 freeway and the Kalanianaole Highway widening project improved traffic conditions. The number of private vehicles has exceeded the number of licensed drivers for the last 10 years. Please refer to census reports. A driver can only drive one vehicle at a time. All excess vehicles remain parked. Number two, roads create traffic congestion where they end. No, a properly engineered expressway will distribute its traffic to many employment and trip centers, such as starting from Waikele, Aiea, Aloha Stadium, Pearl Harbor, H3, Airport, and Mapunapuna, Kalihi, and Iwilei. None of this is in the alternatives analysis. For example, a proper off-ramp will terminate in the median of Lagoon Drive or Waia Camilo Road and discharge traffic without a left turn light that takes forever to serve traffic in a single left turn lane. Traffic congestion is a traffic engineering issue, but little traffic engineering has been applied on Oahu and the city's alternatives analysis. Where is the job growth that will generate the million plus of new trips that are forecast in the city study? New jobs in that area, UH West Oahu, and retail development in EVA will reduce the need actually to travel to Honolulu. Third allegation, that all of $8 is too high for our working families. Yes, this guess, however, was made by the city's administration. Tolls may have to be this high on SR 91 in a city of 15 million, Los Angeles, where demand for speedy travel is huge. There is no such demand on Oahu. The base toll on the managed lanes will be on the average $4 during peak period times and $1 to $2 during off-peak. Indeed, some folks will be unable to pay the toll, but they will benefit from a hot expressway because at the H1, H2 merge, there will be about 20% less traffic. So they will save 15 minutes on H1 freeway for free. Finally, some railroad facts. Rail's cost and tax bill will cause the economy to shrink. Exploding congestion will make freight and tourism operations more expensive and increasingly less competitive. The aging of the baby boomers will reduce trips and reduce dependency.
Thank you.
My last sentence is that rail is an inconvenient black hole alternative.
Thank you.
Thank you.
When it comes to transportation, we also talk about access and circulation. That's within a region, within a neighborhood. Now, in the solution that you provide for us, should we go to the elevated toll road? And there's the concern about how we empty the traffic from the toll lane out into, downtown Honolulu. You made reference to at least one off-ramp by Lagoon Drive. Are there other off-ramps?
I have a potential for between 6 and 8 off-ramps. We do have that potential.
You have that. So you think in surveying what we have the footprint necessary to build out these 6 off-ramps coming from the toll roads?
Right.
Okay. And that's going into downtown Honolulu?
2 of them will be downtown Honolulu, and if we really start thinking about $6 billion infrastructure, then we can have mini tunnels bringing traffic into the core of downtown without actually building any overhead and without affecting vistas like, Aloha Tower and etc. Los Angeles is planning a major tunnel to connect 2 freeways. It's been a trend in the nation to actually create mini tunnels to decongest bottlenecks. Okay. And we haven't even put any of those for preliminary, assessment.
Okay, granted that that will help perhaps deal with the access part of the equation, but when it comes to the circulation within the downtown, how do we accommodate, you know, we can't deal with it off-ramps, obviously, so we have to take a look at the network of roads, the surface roads,
Correct.
the Baratanias, the Bishops, and all
Correct.
that. So how do we do that when it is limited capacity as we have now? I mean, so how do we deal with the circulation within the town? You can get us to town, sir, with your solutions.
Right.
But circulation within, how do you solve that?
Actually, Mr. Garcia, if you travel during peak hour around town, it is not terribly bad. Our bottlenecks are entering into town. If you drive on King Street, Belletania, Alaquer, and you look at the level of service is rarely F at those locations at present time. That is one. So there is some capacity for more circulation. And number two is a lot of people say all these new cars. Which new cars? In order to get new cars, you will have to get a lot of new employment job positions in downtown. Otherwise, why would more people come to downtown? Where are the new jobs downtown? So we have to address that first before we start coming up with, 50,000 more cars coming to downtown. Where from and why? Actually, in my opinion, 50,000 new trips or more will be generated right there in Eva. As I said, UH West Oahu develops, retail develops. There was on TV that, the governor wants to create a new Ala Moana shopping center of that size in the Eva Plain. So trips actually will not need to come in huge numbers to town. They will stay in the Eva district. So I don't even agree with the distribution of trips the way they're modeled in the alternatives analysis. It doesn't fit with the plan. My position is that there is not going to be new traffic. It's the same traffic. It can be accommodated. The traffic signals are not optimized in downtown area. So there is a lot more we can do.
Your solution is not purely a car-based answer to our
Absolutely.
traffic congestion.
Absolutely.
So you would take a look at the multimodal approach, if you will, then to try and deal with congestion, the ferry system, an expanded bus system, but not just focus on the elevated tollway as you've been testifying.
In fact, we need to do a multimodal approach, and I agree with that. But and the thinking changes on the national stage is that there is actually proposed regulation by the FTA to convert HOV lanes to hot lanes, and those would be alternatives to FG, fixed guideway. So those would be eligible for direct FTA funding, because hot highways, the primary existence of hot highway is to be a guideway for express buses, and reserve capacity is sold. So it is not, the focus is not to serve single occupant vehicles. For me, the future is very similar to what we have today. We will be traveling with much smaller cars, much more energy efficient cars, but the preference for people would be autonomy and independence, because that's what our lives are. And I am quite, I'm a little disappointed about, the thoughtfulness of our students here at the UH, that they come and say that, the rail will be so useful to them, because they are among the most multitasking people. And, they go surf, they go to town to work, they have school, and then they go see this and that. Rail will never be able to satisfy 10% of what they actually do. So their idealism may be, interesting, but in reality, what they want to happen, it's not going to happen.
Multitasking, I think
Right.
the reference is actually to chain tripping, where you have these multiple tasks, if you will.
Right.
And that is why we are so automobile dependent, because we go not just from to and from work, but we have to pick up the car in the mail, we have to pick up the kid from the babysitter and
Correct.
drop the kid off at soccer practice. So that is what we refer to
That's
as
right.
the multitasking.
That's right.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Councilmember Marshall.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify from something you said. So you're not in support of rail, but you are in support of fixed guideway for buses, or is that what you said?
Councilwoman Marshall, the hot highway is a fixed guideway. The primary purpose of a hot highway, as defined by the federal government and by the transportation experts, is a high occupancy primarily / toll facility. High occupancy means buses, city buses, tour buses, and van pools. In some cases, you may define it also as carpools of 4 or more. But anything less is considered low occupancy. And low occupancy, they have to pay the price if the capacity is available to use, because we want to operate that efficiently at free flow speed, 55 to 65 miles an hour.
Is what you're suggesting even in the alternatives analysis? I mean, if we combine the TSM, and it's not.
It's not.
So that wasn't looked at all.
It wasn't looked at, no.
But it sounds like it might be something that's expensive. That might be as expensive even as building a rail, fixed guideway rail.
No, actually it's not, because it's like having the Tampa project, and we give priority to buses that we already have, and maybe we need to buy a few more. But the interesting thing about the hotways is that they are so efficient, because essentially you travel like 60 miles per hour, which means in 14 minutes you cover 14 miles. So you are from Waikele to downtown. Therefore, the same bus can actually do the round trip 2 times in the same hour. So actually you don't need to buy more buses with the hot lanes.
But there's nothing in the alternatives analysis that deals with that particular alternative.
Peripherally, they try to design that, and in one of the alternatives, they have a reversible expressway, but it was a 2-lane facility, and then they removed the zipper lane. So the managed lane alternative in your book is simply a single freeway lane, which is, 1/3 of what Tampa is doing.
Okay.
The interesting thing is that if you compare the numbers, actually one new lane of freeway is almost as good as a $6 billion rail. That is quite significant, because the numbers, the bars, if you look at them, the benefits and all, they're quite comparable. So imagine what one lane of freeway does vis-a-vis 28 miles and 22 or 30 rail stations.
What you're suggesting would relieve traffic congestion.
Yes.
Congestion is a fixed guideway, but dealing with buses and high occupancy vehicles.
That's correct.
Not rail.
Not rail, exactly.
Okay.
Too inflexible. Right.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Councilmember Cachola.
Are you now questioning the report?
I am,
when
yes.
it comes to managed lane, to a point that they did not fully analyze it? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir, I do. 100%.
And the basis is they just came up with 2 lanes rather than 3.
It's actually threefold. One is they came up with 2 lanes, but they subtracted a lane. And the second one is that they came with 2 lanes instead of 3. Then they subtracted a lane. And the third one is that they used what they say the state's Nimitz Viaduct, which didn't have any off-ramps because that was supposed to be a short project. And I fully agree, for example, with several of you and Councilman Apo that keeps raising the question of how do you, and Councilman Garcia, how do you distribute traffic? They didn't try to distribute traffic. They just dropped it down to a traffic light. That's what they did. They dropped those 2 lanes, and then there is a traffic light. And that facility became instantly congested. So your point is very valid, but that's the alternatives analysis, not a fully engineered solution. Actually, we can think it by logic that if the express buses can do 14 miles in 14 minutes, the ridership on the buses will be at least as good as the rail, because you continue on the same bus to take you to your exact destination instead of having to do transfers.
You have to improve a lot of roads and spend billions of dollars improving roads. You question that too?
I think the improvements are not going to be in the order of billions of dollars, but I need to make you aware of the results in the study, that they haven't really worked out the traffic engineering, the in-town side, and even with the managed lanes. If you look at table 3-3, it shows you that between Aiea and Manoa or Waikiki, in 2030, travel time by auto will be the same or better than the rail. So really, even with not completely thought out traffic engineering and based on the Parsons-Bringerhoff alternatives analysis, automobile will still be more efficient between, say, downtown and UH, Aiea and UH. That's important.